I thought I'd learned every kind of heartbreak a camera could hold. The blurred kind, shaking hands, mascara tears, a goodbye in a parking lot. The sharp kind, sharp enough to cut through a memory and leave it bleeding for years. But nothing prepared me for the email that landed in my inbox on a humid Tuesday in Austin, Texas, summer 2022. Subject, Wedding Photography Inquiry. June 18th. The name in the signature hit me like a flashbang. Elliot Hart, my ex, my first real love. The man who once traced circles on my wrist and promised, if I ever hurt you, I deserve to lose everything. My mouth went dry as I stared at the screen. I clicked anyway, because curiosity is a cruel little habit, and I've never been good at resisting it. The message was polite, professional, like we were strangers. Hi, Sloane, I hope you've been well. We're getting married next month, and we love your work. Are you available on June 18th? We'd love to book you. Elliot. No mention of history. No mention of the fact that the last time I saw him, I was standing outside his apartment holding a spare key that suddenly felt like a joke. No mention of the woman I saw through the blinds. A woman laughing in my sweatshirt. I reread the email 3 times, waiting for my brain to catch up with what my eyes already knew. He wanted me to photograph his wedding. My finger hovered over the trackpad, trembling. Part of me wanted to delete it and never look back. The other part, the part that still woke up sometimes, disoriented, reaching for someone who wasn't there, needed to know, needed to see who he was marrying. So I wrote back, like a professional. Hi, Elliot, congratulations. Yes, I'm available. Let's discuss details. Sloane. The moment I hit send, I felt sick. Like I'd just agreed to attend my own funeral and promised to bring the flowers. I told myself it was just business. By 2022, my photography wasn't a side hustle anymore. It was rent money, groceries, health insurance, the kind of life where you don't say no to good-paying clients. And the contract he signed was painfully generous, almost guilty. Or maybe he just didn't recognize what it meant to ask me. Either way, I'd learned how to smile while my stomach turned. I'd been doing that since the night he broke me. 2 years earlier, Elliot had been my everything. He worked in real estate, all charm and confident laughter, the kind of man who walked into a room and made people feel like they'd been waiting for him. I was the girl behind the lens, the one who remembered details, the one who noticed when he stopped saying we and started saying I. The betrayal didn't arrive like a storm. It arrived like a slow leak. A password changed. A phone turned face down. A sudden interest in late meetings. Then one night, I surprised him with Thai takeout and my stupid, hopeful heart. I stood outside his apartment door, balancing 2 bags, practicing a smile in my head. And through the gap in the blinds, I saw him. Not alone. A woman was sitting on the couch like she belonged there, her legs tucked under her, her hair pinned up messily, wearing my cream-colored sweatshirt, my favorite one, the one I'd left there on purpose because I liked the idea of leaving pieces of myself in his space. And Elliot was laughing, head thrown back, free, like the world had never broken anyone. My hand tightened around the plastic takeout handles until they cut into my skin. I didn't knock. I didn't scream. I just backed away, because something inside me understood, before my mind did, that if I stepped into that moment, I'd never be the same. I drove home in silence, the smell of food filling the car like a cruel prank. When he finally called an hour later, I didn't answer. When he texted, "Where are you?" I didn't reply. And when he showed up at my place, pounding on my door like he had the right, I stood behind it, shaking, and whispered to myself, "Don't let him see you fall apart." Eventually, the pounding stopped. I slid down to the floor and pressed my forehead to my knees. My camera sat on the table, lens cap on like it was politely looking away. So when June 18th arrived, and I pulled into the wedding venue, a polished hill country estate with white stone arches and oak trees wrapped in fairy lights, I told myself I was no longer that girl on the floor. I was Sloane Mercer, professional wedding photographer. I had a black rolling case, 2 camera bodies, 3 lenses, and a practice smile. My hand still shook as I adjusted my strap. The Texas heat hit me like a wall. Sweat gathered at the base of my neck as I walked toward the bridal suite. A coordinator in a headset waved. "Hi, you must be Sloane. We're so happy you're here." My throat tightened. "Of course," I managed. I followed her down a hallway that smelled like citrus and expensive candles. My heartbeat kept a steady, dangerous rhythm. Then the door to the bridal suite opened, and the air left my lungs. Because sitting in front of a mirror in a silk robe with her hair half curled was the woman from behind the blinds. The woman in my sweatshirt. She turned, smiling brightly. "Sloane, you made it!" Like we were friends. Like we'd never met. Like she hadn't taken something from me and worn it like it was hers. The coordinator beamed. "This is the bride, Claire." Claire, a pretty name for an ugly truth. My vision narrowed. I could hear blood rushing in my ears like ocean waves. My fingers went cold around my camera. Elliot stepped into the room behind me, and for a second, I couldn't breathe at all. He froze when he saw my face, just for a heartbeat. Then he pasted on a smile so perfect it made me want to break something. "Sloane," he said, voice warm. "Wow, you look great." I wanted to laugh, because what I looked like was a woman being asked to frame her own humiliation in soft lighting. Claire hopped up, giddy. "Elliot told me you were talented, but he didn't say you were like, cool." Cool. That's what they called it when a woman swallowed pain instead of letting it spill. My mouth moved on autopilot. "Congratulations," I said. My voice sounded normal, which terrified me. Elliot's eyes flicked to the coordinator, then back to me. Something passed between us. Panic, warning, a silent, "Please don't." And that's when it hit me. He hadn't emailed me because he didn't realize. He emailed me because he thought he could control the narrative. If I photographed it, if I behaved, it would be like the past never happened. Like I'd been erased, politely. Claire clasped her hands. "Okay, I want lots of candid shots. I want everything to look dreamy." Dreamy. Sure. I raised my camera. The lens looked back at her reflection in the mirror, her smile, her robe, her engagement ring flashing. And in the corner of the reflection, just barely visible, Elliot stood behind me, watching, measuring, as if I was still something he could manage. My finger hovered over the shutter. The first click felt like swallowing glass. Click. The sound echoed in my skull. I kept shooting, because that's what professionals do. But inside, the girl on the floor 2 years ago woke up and screamed. Not out loud. Never out loud. Just deep in my chest, where the pain had been living rent-free. My stomach twisted. My palms dampened. A familiar thought rose up like bile. "You should leave." Then another thought followed, quieter. Colder. No. Because my camera didn't just capture smiles. It captured truth. It captured what people forgot to hide. And as I watched Claire lean into Elliot, as I watched his hand settle at her waist like it belonged there, something in me hardened. Not into hatred, into clarity. I glanced down at my camera screen. The first images were already there. Sharp, bright, perfect. I could see every detail, every reflection, every angle, every second, time-stamped, preserved. And then Claire said, laughing, "Sloane, make sure you get the moment when Elliot sees me walk down the aisle. He always gets emotional." Elliot's jaw tightened. He looked at me again, just once. His eyes said, "Don't you dare." My pulse slowed. My smile returned, calm and terrifying. "Of course," I said softly, lifting my camera again. And in that instant, I realized this wasn't just a job. This was a stage. And I had a front row seat to the kind of truth that could ruin someone without ever raising my voice. My finger pressed the shutter again. Click. And the day truly began. The ceremony didn't start with music. It started with breath. Mine, slow, measured, controlled. That's what I told myself as I took my position at the end of the aisle, camera lifted, posture calm. White chairs lined up perfectly on either side, guests murmuring, fans fluttering in the Texas heat. Everything looked effortless, beautiful. That was the lie wedding sold. Claire stood at the far end, hidden behind the doors of the estate, clutching her bouquet. I could hear her laughing nervously with her bridesmaids, the soft rustle of fabric, the squeak of heels against stone. Elliot waited at the altar. He kept adjusting his cuffs like they were strangling him. Good. The coordinator raised her hand. Music swelled, and the doors opened. I raised my camera. Click. Claire stepped forward, glowing, radiant, rehearsed. The guests sighed collectively, like they'd been waiting for this exact picture their whole lives. I framed Elliot's face. That was my job, after all. Capture the groom's reaction. His smile appeared right on time. Too perfect. But I didn't shoot immediately. I waited. I watched the micro moments, the ones most people missed. The way his eyes flicked sideways before locking on her. The tightness in his jaw before he remembered to soften it. The breath he took like he was bracing for impact, not joy. Then, click. I got it. Not love. Relief. And behind that, something darker. Fear. My heart didn't race. It steadied. Because this wasn't about revenge yet. This was about truth. During the vows, I moved silently, circling like a ghost. My shoes barely made a sound on the stone floor. I captured hands, rings, tears, both real and performative. Claire's vows were long. She talked about destiny, about timing, about how some love stories begin in the wrong chapter but still end up right. My fingers tightened around the lens. I angled slightly to the side. In the reflection of the polished arch behind them, Elliot's face appeared again. This time, he wasn't looking at Claire. He was looking at me, just for a second, long enough to know he was aware. Click. Time stamped. Preserved. Unavoidable. Elliot swallowed hard and looked away. Claire kept smiling. At the reception, champagne flowed like forgiveness. The band played something upbeat and forgettable. Fairy lights glowed overhead as the sun dipped low, painting everything gold. Golden hour. Photographers loved it. I weaved between tables, catching candid moments, laughter, toasts, glasses clinking, and secrets. At table 7, Elliot's mother leaned toward Claire and whispered something sharp enough to make Claire's smile falter. I zoomed, not on her mouth, on her eyes. The flicker, the blink, the way she glanced at Elliot like she was checking a script. Click. Nearby, a groomsman, Marcus, laughed too loudly, already drunk. He threw an arm around Elliot and said, "Man, I still can't believe you pulled this off." Pulled what off? Elliot's hand tightened on his glass. I shot from the hip, lens angled slightly upward. Marcus leaned in closer. "You're lucky Sloane's chill," he added. The word landed like a slap. Chill. Because women were only acceptable when they didn't make noise. Elliot laughed. Too fast. Too loud. "Yeah," he said. "She's always been professional." Professional. Like my pain was a job description. I felt heat rise up my spine. But my face didn't change. I adjusted my settings and kept shooting. Claire cornered me near the cake table. "Sloane, right?" she said, sweet as sugar. "These photos are going to be amazing. You're so calm. I don't know how you do it." I smiled. "Practice. Years of it. I focus on details," I said. Her eyes lit up. "That's perfect. I want everything to feel honest." Honest. The word echoed. I nodded slowly. "You'll get that," I said. She laughed, oblivious, and turned away. Elliot appeared beside me seconds later. Too close. His voice dropped. "You okay?" I looked at him then. Really looked. The familiar face felt foreign now, like a place I'd escaped. "I'm working," I said. He hesitated. This is important to me." I tilted my head. "Isn't it always?" His jaw tightened. For a moment, I thought he might say my name the way he used to. Soft. Careful. Instead, he nodded and stepped back. Coward. That night, back in my apartment, I didn't pour wine. I didn't cry. I uploaded. File by file, the images filled my screen. Bright, crisp, perfect. I zoomed in. I slowed down. I noticed things I'd trained my eye to see. Reflections in champagne flutes. Hands lingering too long. A phone screen lighting up in Elliot's pocket during the first dance. The timestamp glowed in the corner of the frame. 11:42 p.m. Incoming message. The name wasn't Claire. I inhaled slowly. My pulse stayed steady. I wasn't guessing anymore. I was documenting. That was the difference between bitterness and power. 3 days later, Claire emailed. Subject, sneak peek? I stared at the heart emoji. Then I selected 12 images. Not the obvious ones. Not the confrontational ones. Just honest ones. The reflection shots. The micro expressions. The timestamp details. The moments that whispered instead of screamed. I sent them with a simple message. Here's a preview. Full gallery coming soon. Sloane. An hour passed. Then 2. Then my phone buzzed. Claire. Calling. I didn't answer. Another buzz. A text. Hey, quick question. Did you notice anything weird during the reception? I smiled for the first time in days, because she was starting to see it, not because I told her, but because the truth had a way of surfacing when it was framed just right. I typed back slowly, "What do you mean?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. My phone rang. This time, it wasn't Claire. It was Elliot. I stared at his name lighting up my screen, my reflection faintly visible in the glass. I let it ring, and ring, and ring, until it stopped. Then a voicemail notification appeared. I didn't play it. Not yet. I opened my editing software instead. And as I dragged one particular photo onto the timeline, the one with the reflection, the timestamp, and Elliot's eyes locked on me, I realized something undeniable. I wasn't just capturing a wedding. I was curating a reckoning, and the album wasn't finished. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on my bed with my laptop balanced on my knees, the glow of the screen painting the ceiling in pale blue. Outside, Austin hummed quietly, cars passing, a distant siren, life continuing like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Claire knew. Not everything, not yet, but enough. I replayed her message again and again in my head. Did you notice anything weird during the reception? Weird. Such a small word for a crack that could split a life in half. I opened the voicemail Elliot had left. I told myself I wouldn't flinch. I was wrong. Sloane, his voice said, low, controlled, too controlled. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you need to be careful. This isn't appropriate. Just finish the album like we agreed. Finish the album. Like the truth was a task I could check off and forget. I deleted the voicemail. Then I duplicated the entire photo library and saved it to an external drive. Because one thing photography teaches you early is this: always back up your work. The next morning, Claire emailed again. Not cheerful this time. No emojis. Subject, call me. I replied with one line. I'm editing today. What's going on? Her response came fast. Something doesn't feel right. Elliot says I'm overthinking, but I keep looking at the photos you sent and can we talk? I stared at the cursor blinking at the end of her sentence. This was the moment where I could stop, where I could hand over the pretty photos, collect my check, and walk away. That would be the clean ending. But clean endings are a myth. So I typed, I'm free this afternoon. Coffee? We met at a cafe on South Congress. Bright, open, impossible to hide in. Claire arrived early. She looked different without the wedding glow. Tired, eyes ringed with shadows, hands wrapped tightly around a paper cup. When she saw me, she stood. Thank you for coming, she said quickly. I nodded and sat across from her. For a moment, we just listened to the espresso machine hiss. Then she blurted, Did Elliot ever lie to you? Straight to it. I studied her face, the tension in her jaw, the way she braced herself for an answer she already suspected. Yes, I said. She swallowed. He says you're upset because he moved on, she said, that you're trying to project. There it was, the old narrative. I took a breath. I'm not here to convince you of anything, I said calmly. You asked if I noticed anything unusual. I did, but I won't interpret it for you. Her fingers tightened around the cup. What do you mean? I reached into my bag and pulled out my tablet. I opened one image, just one. It showed Claire and Elliot during the first dance, framed beautifully. Soft light, perfect posture. But in the reflection of a mirrored pillar behind them, Elliot's phone was visible, screenlit, a name, a time. I slid the tablet across the table. I'm a photographer, I said. I document what's there. Claire stared, her face drained of color. That could be anything, she whispered. Of course, I said. That's why I don't make conclusions. She looked up at me then, eyes glassy. Did he cheat on you with me? She asked. The cafe noise seemed to fall away. This was the question that mattered. I answered honestly. Yes. Her breath hitched. He told me you were already broken up, she said, that you were cold, distant. I nodded. They always do. Silence settled between us, heavy but clear. Finally, Claire pushed the tablet back. I need to see the full album, she said. I met her gaze. When it's finished, I replied. That evening, Elliot showed up at my apartment. I hadn't given him my address again, which meant he'd never deleted it. I watched him through the peephole, heart steady, mind sharp. I opened the door. He stepped in like he still belonged. You crossed a line, he said immediately. I leaned against the counter. I delivered previews. You know what you're doing, he snapped. You're manipulating her. I laughed softly. No, I said. I'm letting her look. His eyes flicked to my laptop on the table. You're still editing, he said. Of course, I replied. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. If you release anything that hurts me, I'll sue. Defamation. Emotional distress. I have lawyers. I tilted my head. Every photo is unaltered, I said. Time-stamped. Raw files. He froze. You wouldn't, he said. I met his gaze. I already am. Something shifted in his expression. Fear. Real fear. He backed away slowly. This won't end well for you, he said. I smiled. It already didn't, I replied. 2 days later, Claire called. Her voice was calm. Too calm. I want the full album, she said. Unedited. Everything. I paused. You understand what you're asking, I said. Yes, she replied. I need to see my marriage clearly. After the call ended, I sat in silence. Then I opened my editing software. I didn't dramatize. I didn't exaggerate. I simply arranged the images in chronological order. Reflections, glances, timestamps. Truth told quietly. When I exported the final gallery, my finger hovered over the send button. Once sent, I couldn't control where it went, who saw it, what it destroyed. I closed my eyes, thought about the girl on the floor, the woman behind the lens, and the truth I'd carried alone for 2 years. Then I clicked send. An hour passed. Then my phone rang. Claire. I answered. She didn't speak at first. Then she said very softly, I found her. My stomach tightened. Who? I asked. The woman who texted him during the first dance, she said. She's not a stranger. My grip on the phone tightened. She works at his office, Claire continued. She was at the wedding. My pulse quickened. In the photos, Claire said. She's smiling at him. A pause. Then, and Sloane? Yes. Claire exhaled shakily. I think this album might be bigger than just us. I stared at the wall, heart pounding, because suddenly, this wasn't just a wedding anymore. It was a pattern, and I had proof of all of it. I didn't answer Claire right away, not because I didn't care, but because once you name a pattern, you can't unsee it, and neither can anyone else. I asked her to forward me what she'd found. Screenshots arrived one by one. A group chat from Elliot's office, a smiling selfie taken at the reception, same woman, same dress I'd captured mid-laugh in the background of another frame. A text thread with dates that overlapped too cleanly to be coincidence. My chest felt tight, but my hands stayed steady. This wasn't chaos. This was structure, and structure could be told. The next morning, I met Claire again, this time at her apartment. Boxes were stacked by the door, half packed, half denial. She looked smaller without the wedding ring. I feel stupid, she said, sitting on the couch, shoulders folded inward. Everyone's telling me to calm down, to enjoy being married. I set my bag down gently. You're not stupid, you're early. She looked up. Early? To the truth, I said. I opened my laptop and laid out the timeline. Photos first, messages second, context last. I didn't accuse. I didn't editorialize. I let the evidence breathe. Claire leaned closer as I scrolled. Each timestamp landed like a quiet bell. Ding, ding, ding. Her voice cracked. How many? I paused. More than one. She closed her eyes. When she opened them, they were dry. I want out, she said, but I don't want him to spin this. I don't want to look hysterical. I nodded. That's why we don't shout, I said. We show. We planned carefully. Not together exactly. Parallel. Claire spoke to a lawyer. I refined the album. I removed nothing. But I added order. A narrative arc, beginning, middle, end. I prepared 2 exports. One was the full gallery, private. The other was a curated sequence, 20 images, clean, undeniable, devastating in their restraint. No captions, no commentary, just time, light, and truth. Elliot started calling again. Voicemails stacked up. Threats softened into pleas. "Sloane, please, let's be adults. I'll pay you extra. You're ruining lives." I didn't respond because he still thought this was about him. It wasn't. The night before Claire filed, she came over. She looked calm in a way that scared me. "Will this follow me forever?" she asked. I considered it. "Truth follows everyone," I said, "but it doesn't chase the same way lies do." She nodded. Then she asked the question I'd been avoiding. "Why are you doing this?" I met her eyes. "Because 2 years ago, I stood outside an apartment with takeout and learned what silence costs," I said. "I won't pay that price again." She reached for my hand. "Thank you," she said. The filing went through quietly. No spectacle, just paperwork and timing. Elliot found out from an email. Then the calls exploded. I blocked his number, so he emailed. So he showed up again outside my building. I didn't open the door. I watched from the window as he paced, phone pressed to his ear, performing panic for no audience. For the first time, I felt nothing. 3 days later, Claire asked if I would send the curated sequence to her parents to help them understand, she said. I hesitated. "Once it leaves your circle," I warned, "you can't pull it back." She nodded. "I know." I sent it. The reply came the next morning. From her mother. Subject, "Thank you for the honesty." Short, direct. It didn't accuse. It didn't rage. It acknowledged. Sometimes that's worse. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. I almost ignored it. Almost. "This is Marcus," the voice said when I answered. "Elliot's friend. Look, I shouldn't be calling, but people are talking." I stayed quiet. "He's done this before," Marcus said. "Different cities. Same playbook. He marries fast, he overlaps, he gaslights." My stomach dropped. "Why tell me?" I asked. "Because you're the first person who didn't disappear," he said. "And because there are other women. Other women." The words hung between us like exposed wire. "How many?" I asked. "Enough," he said. After the call, I sat on the floor and breathed. Not from shock, from responsibility. That night, I opened a new folder on my desktop. I named it simply Archive. I didn't know yet what it would become. Only that the album had outgrown the wedding. Only that my camera had caught something bigger than a single betrayal. A system. A habit. A man who believes stories belong to him. I looked at the 20 images one more time. They were quiet. They didn't scream. They didn't accuse. They waited. My cursor hovered over a new export setting. One that changed the destination. Not a client. Not a family member. Something wider. Public. I closed my eyes and remembered Elliot's voice. "Don't you dare!" I clicked Save As.